"I'm sorry, ma," Nkem said, her voice trembling. She bent down to clean the mess, but Ugochi grabbed a cooking spoon and struck it on the side of her head. Nkem gasped and collapsed to the floor. Her small body went limp. Blood trickled down from her scalp as her eyes fluttered shut. In the bustling city of Lagos, Ugochi lived what many would call a comfortable life. She had 3 lively sons, a hard-working husband, and a reputation as a capable woman who managed her home with precision. To outsiders, her life seemed perfect, but within the walls of her house, another story unfolded. A story of pain, suffering, and a hidden bond waiting to be discovered. The story began when Ugochi brought a young girl named Nkem from her village to help around the house. Nkem was a 13-year-old girl with a gentle soul and a beauty that turned head. Her large, expressive eyes seemed to hold all the hope in the world, but lately they were always filled with tears. Sent to Lagos by her struggling parents to help support her siblings, Nkem worked tirelessly without complaint, but life in Ugochi's house was far from kind. From the moment Nkem arrived, Ugochi seemed to harbor an unexplainable dislike for her. The smallest mistakes were met with scolding, insults, and at times physical punishment. If the boys spilled their food, Nkem got blamed. The soup didn't taste just right. It was Nkem's fault. "What kind of a useless girl are you?" Ugochi would shout. "Even my sons know more better than you. Do you think this is your poor village where you can loaf around?" "I'm sorry, ma," Nkem would reply quietly, her eyes cast downwards. But her apology only fueled Ugochi's anger. At night, when everyone was asleep, Nkem would retreat to the corner of the kitchen, clutching her knees as tears streamed down her eyes. She prayed silently, asking God why her madam hated her so much. Was she truly cursed, or was she just useless? Arukakwa, Ugochi's mother, often came to visit. She spent most of her time observing the chaos of the house. She saw how Ugochi backed order at Nkem and how the little girl flinched at every given orders, and her small hands trembled as she walked. Arukakwa's heart ached. She knew the truth, a secret she had carried for 13 long years. Nkem was not just a housemaid. She was Ugochi's firstborn child, a baby Ugochi had unknowingly brought into the world as a teenager. 13 years earlier, Ugochi had been a bright-eyed teenager with dreams of becoming a doctor, but her world came crashing down when she discovered she was pregnant. Her parents were horrified. "This will ruin your life." Her father had thundered. "She will be a disgrace to this family." Arukakwa, desperate to protect her daughter's future, had come up with a plan. When Ugochi gave birth, the nurses told her that the baby had died. But in reality, the child was sent to live with a distant relative. The lie was meant to save Ugochi's future, but it left scars on every heart involved, scars that deepened with time. Now, Arukakwa watched helplessly as Ugochi directs her anger and frustration at the very first child she had lost. One afternoon, she saw Nkem sitting by the window, tears running silently down her face. The girl whispered to herself, "Why does she hate me so much? What did I do?" Arukakwa rushed to her room and fell to her knees, her frail body wrecked with sobs. "Oh God," she cried, "what have I done? I have sinned against this child and my own daughter. Forgive me." Despite her sufferings, Nkem worked tirelessly. She cleaned, cooked, and cared for Ugochi's 3 boys as if they were her own brothers. But her efforts went unnoticed. Instead, Ugochi's hatred seemed to grow. One day, Ugochi's youngest son, Chike, spilled a cup of milk on the dining table. Nkem rushed to clean it up, but Ugochi stormed in, her face twisted with anger. "Can't you do anything right?" she yelled. "What is wrong with you?" "I'm sorry, ma," Nkem stammered, her hands shaking. "You are always sorry," Ugochi snapped. "Sorry doesn't fix anything." Arukakwa, who had been sitting quietly in the living room, finally spoke up. "Ugochi," she called, her voice trembling. "Why do you treat this little girl like this?" Ugochi turned to her mother, her face still flushed with anger. "Mama, you don't understand. She is very lazy and clumsy. She is nothing like my children." Arukakwa's heart broke. "If she were your daughter, would you still treat her this way?" Ugochi scoffed. "God forbid, no child of mine will be this useless." The words hit Arukakwa like a dagger. She turned away, her eyes brimming with tears. The day everything changed was a stormy one. Rain pondered against the window as thunder rolled in distance. Ugochi was in a foul mood, and Nkem, exhausted from a long day of work, accidentally spilled a pot of hot stew. The sound of the pot crashing to the floor brought Ugochi running into the kitchen. She took one look at the mess and exploded. "You useless girl," she screamed. "You can't even hold a pot properly. Do you know how much I have spent on food this month?" "I'm sorry, ma," Nkem said, her voice trembling. She bent down to clean the mess, but Ugochi grabbed a cooking spoon and struck it on the side of her head. Nkem gasped and collapsed to the floor. Her small body went limp. Blood trickled down from her scalp as her eyes fluttered shut. "Ugochi, what have you done?" Arukakwa cried, rushing to Nkem's side. Ugochi stood frozen, the spoon still in her hands. For the first time, she had felt a flicker of fear. "Call the hospital," Arukakwa shouted. "Now!" For 9 agonizing days, Nkem lay in a coma. The doctor said it was too early to tell if she would recover. Ugochi stayed by her bedside, her heart heavy with guilt. She replayed every moment of cruelty in her hands, every moment of wickedness she had mentored down on the little girl. The insults, the slap, the harsh words. On the third night, as Ugochi sat silently by Nkem's bed, Arukakwa entered the room. She looked at her daughter, her eyes filled with tears. "Ugochi," she began softly, "I need to tell you something." "What is it, Mama?" Ugochi asked, not looking up. Arukakwa took a deep breath. "Nkem, she is your daughter." Ugochi froze. "What?" she whispered, turning to face her mother. "She is the child you gave birth to as a teenager," Arukakwa said, her voice breaking. "The baby we told you had lost. We sent her away. I thought I was protecting you, But now I see that I was wrong. Ugochi stared at her mother, her face a mixture of shock and disbelief. No, no, this is not possible. It is the truth, Arukawa said, her tears falling freely. And I'm so sorry. Ugochi buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. I have failed her, she sobbed. I have failed as a mother. On the ninth day, Nkem's eyes fluttered open. She blinked, disoriented as her gaze settled on Ugochi. Where am I? She whispered. You are in the hospital, my child, Ugochi said, her voice trembling. You have been very sick. Ugochi looked at her with confusion. Why are you crying, ma? Ugochi took a deep breath. Nkem, there is something I need to tell you. What is it? Nkem asked weakly. You are not just my housemaid, Ugochi said, her voice breaking. You are my daughter. Nkem's eyes widened. What? She whispered. That is not true. It can't be. It is, Ugochi said, her tears falling. I didn't know it was you. Nkem turned her face away, tears sliding down her cheeks. You hated me, she said softly. You called me useless. You hit me. I know, Ugochi said, her voice cracking, and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Please, Nkem, please forgive me. Nkem shook her head, her small body trembling. It hurts, she whispered. It hurts so much. I know, Ugochi said, falling to her knees beside the bed. And I'm so sorry. Please, my daughter, please give me a second chance. For a long time, the room was silent, except for their sobs. Finally, Nkem turned back to Ugochi, her face filled with pain. I don't know if I can forgive you, she said, her voice shaking. How can I forgive someone who made me feel like I was nothing? Ugochi clasped her hands together, her tears falling onto the floor. Because I love you, she said, and because I will never hurt you again. Please, Nkem, my child, forgive me, please. Slowly, Nkem reached out her hands. Ugochi took it, holding it tightly as fresh tears fall. I will try, Nkem whispered, but it will take time. When they returned home, everything changed. Ugochi treated Nkem with the love she had always desired. She told her sons the truth, and they embraced Nkem as their sister. Though the scars of the past would never fully fade, they chose to move forward, building a future filled with love, healing and hope. Together, they proved that even the deepest wound could be mended with forgiveness and the power of a mother's heart.